How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about Mullen, which was down 6.25% on the day. We saw a lot of selling pressure inside of the market today leading up to CPI, but we'll talk about it further in the video. I won't waste any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder, you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is the technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support. We want to know resistance. We want to know what it looks like in the bearish case scenario and as well as in the bullish case scenario. And then we're going to be going on Fintel, taking a look at the recent short interest information. The reason why this is important because it does have an impact on the way the stock performs. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know the buying and the selling behavior on the retail side and as well as on the institutional side. And then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to do a technical analysis from Mullen. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $1.20, being down 6.25%. On the low, it tested $1.18, and then on the high, testing $1.28. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 41.039 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 106.629 million shares. So well below the average in regards to volume, and we also seen a slight pullback in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, you can see from the RSI down below, it's at 47.13. And then when we take a look at our moving averages here on the chart, we are below the 200-day, the 50-day, and we are below the 21-day EMA. So of course, when we had our previous video, it was able to actually stay above it. But knowing that it tested the low at $1.18 does pose some significance. And the reason behind it, we know if Mullen breaks through $1.17, there's a gap that needs to be filled to the downside right at $1.03. So there's a possibility within a week it could fill in this gap, and I want to make sure you're going to be prepared for that. Now, if you're looking for a reversal, you want to see some strength. It ended up seeing a high at $1.28, so it was above the 21-day EMA. So we had that reversal and we're able to break above 128. That's where I want to see if we can get to the 50-day moving average, which is at $1.57. And as you can clearly see in the past, we've come close to actually getting to it, but for the meantime, I feel like if we did have a run up and we got there, there would be some selling pressure. So that's why you'd want to see bulls stepping in and then pushing the price up further to see Mullen get into the $1.70 range. But for the most part, for what I'm seeing for tomorrow, I am just not seeing that. But overall, if the markets are weak and Mullen does decide to pull back, just keep an eye on that area of 117 and as well as 103. Now let's move on to the short interest information. So we're going to take a look at the recent short interest information for Mullen. So the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 47.62%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 14.34 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 85,000, updated 6 minutes ago, and then for the short buy-off rate, it is at 11.36%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 7th, it was at 50.05, and then for the close of the 8th being at 47.62, and then taking a look at the short interest percentage of the float being at 14.03%. Guess what? Mullen has finally hit our criteria for a play that has short squeeze potential. Now let's move on to the order flow distribution. Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for Mullen. So we see on the inflow, it is at 7.72 million, and then on the outflow, it's at 11.23 million. So we had an outflow day. Taking a look at the breakdown, on the large, it was 0.21 million. On the medium, it was 4.83 million, and then on the small, it was 2.68 million. Taking a look at the outflow side, you can see on the large, it was 0.27 million. On the medium, it was 7.85 million, and then on the small, it was 3.11 million. Taking a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you can see for today, June the 9th, we had that outflow of 0.06 million. Analyzing the numbers even further for the small scale orders that tend to represent the retail side, you can see we had more selling than we had buying. And then when we take a look at what happened on the medium, we had more selling than we had buying. And then when we take a look at the large, represents whales, institutions, and funds, we had more selling than we had buying. And then when we take a look at the turnover ratio, it was at 12.42%. No surprises there. We know that Mullen is a volatile play. And plus, on top of that, we had a lot of volatility in the markets as well. So let's go into the final thoughts and we'll go over some more details as well. So for my final thoughts for Mullen, when it comes to the price action, so we saw a high at the day at $1.28, and we saw a low at the day at $1.18. And we have the 21-day EMA, which is at $1.24. So what does this all mean? What we want to see is Mullen having price action above the 21-day EMA. This is showing strength. This is showing that, you know what, it could be going up on a further uptrend. But if it decides to trade below that, especially going into tomorrow, that's where things can get very interesting. And the reason behind that, we know if it breaks through $1.17, there's a gap that needs to be filled right at $1.03. So knowing this as a trader is going to be very important in regards to your risk management, especially if you're deciding to play this long. You also have to take notice of the 50-day moving average. Currently it's at $1.57, and this could be an area of resistance if Mullen decides to break through 128 and then go on a run. But if it could break through that 50-day moving average, that's where I want to see Mullen trading in the mid $1.70 range. And we know that $2 is a psychological area as well. So now you know what it looks like to the upside and as well as for the downside. But like I've been saying in a lot of my videos, and I've also said this in my Mullen videos, we have CPI data that's going to be coming out tomorrow. And this could add to even more volatility in the markets. But here's the thing, since we had so much selling pressure that was happening, is it already priced in? But you know what? We're going to have to wait for Friday. But if the market decides to pick back up, that's where I'm saying keep an eye on those levels to the upside. Also, when we went on Fintel, taking a look at the recent short interest information, it's great to see that Mullen has finally hit our criteria for the short interest percentage of the float being at 14%. So this means it does have short squeeze potential. So what does it need? You need to have some more buying volume coming into the play. You guys have already seen what this stock can do when we had a lot of volume coming in. So the moment we have that volume coming back in and the bulls start buying this thing up, that's where we want to see if it can get to $2. But of course, it needs to get past that 50-day moving average and also get comfortable above that 21-day EMA. Never forget about that. I want to make sure it's ingrained in your mind. The 21-day EMA is one of the moving averages you want to make sure that you have on your chart, and as well as the 9 EMA, especially if you're trading it intraday. So overall, it's definitely going to be an interesting day inside of the market. But don't forget, after CPI, we have the Fed meeting, and we also have the quad witching that's happening on the Friday as well. So I hope you guys are prepared. I hope you're getting value from these videos, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see how the stock performs going into tomorrow. We'll talk soon.